Welcome to this sixth edition of CenterView, our monthly virtual discussion series sponsored by Baltimore's oldest and preeminent business networking and dining club, the Center Club. Our aim is to feature the people and the issues impacting our present and shaping our future, as well as the movers and the doers from across our region who are creating momentum and making a positive difference. I'm your host, Greg Tucker, a Baltimore City resident since 1997. I'm an independent strategic communications advisor, a board member of the Center Club. So it's my pleasure to host this series. This evening, today, I'm delighted to be able to have with us. Finally, Calvin Butler, who is the Senior Executive Vice President of Exelon and CEO of Exelon Utilities. But of course, apart from his titles, we know Calvin to be a great friend of so many vital interests of our city and region, and striving to make a discernible difference. Back to his, let me run through a few of the highlights of Calvin, just so we're well oriented. In addition to his responsibilities, back to his responsibilities with Exelon, Calvin oversees Exelon's 6 local electric and natural gas companies, which together form the nation's largest utility company by customer count, serving approximately 10 million electric and gas customers in New Jersey, Maryland, Illinois, Delaware, Pennsylvania, the District of Columbia. And of course, Calvin previously served as CEO of BGE from 2014 to 2019. His accolades are many. In 2020, Calvin was named among Black Enterprise Magazine's most influential Black executives in corporate America. He's been named among Black Enterprise Magazine's 300 most powerful executives in corporate America and Industrialist of the Year by Baltimore Museum of Industry. 3 times the Daily Record named Calvin one of Maryland's most admired CEOs and one of its top 35 influential Marylanders. Baltimore Magazine named him as one of its top 10 Baltimoreans. For what it's worth, I was runner-up as an employee of the month while selling shoes at Macy's in high school, but that's a long story. I don't want to get into it now. Calvin is generous with his time and talents in so many ways, serving on the boards of Baltimore Community Foundation, University of Maryland School of Medicine's Board of Visitors, chair of the Greater Baltimore Committee, something we'll talk about, the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation, and of course the Center Club, among his many other activities. Unlike the rest of us, Calvin's days are 37.5 hours versus our standard 24. So welcome, Calvin. Great to have you, my friend, and good to see you in our ongoing COVID predicament. You're doing well. I see. You look good.
Thank you, Greg. First off, let me just say thank you. Thank you to the Center Club for having me. Greg says, I finally got to be on here. He told me I was only because the zookeeper couldn't be here. He extended me an invite, so I appreciate that. And PJ, let me just say before we jump off here, thank you for your leadership. Your leadership over the last few years at the Center Club has allowed us to get to where we are. And I don't take that lightly. As someone who served as your vice chair for the last several years, I see the amount of time and effort you put into it. So I want to just let you know how much we truly appreciate how you've stepped in and helped be a part and create the team environment that's allowed the Center Club to be successful. So having said that, I just wanted to say I'm honored to be here, and I look forward to our discussion today. Night.
Great. Calvin, I can't think of knowing you, it's been a pleasure to know you so many years now, these past several years, certainly with the Center Club and other intersections. I can't think of a corporate leader, community leader, who is as much demand and involved in so many areas that are vital to our community as you are. So real quickly, having been in corporate life once for a number of years, how do you manage that work-life balance? What's that like in your world?
I'm still looking for that work-life balance, but I can tell you, I'm blessed in so many ways. And one of them is that I enjoy what I do and I enjoy the people that I work with. And for me, so much of it is about purpose. What drives you, what gets you up, what gets the energy going, and how can you lean in? And all the things that you've talked about in my introduction, and thank you for that very kind introduction. All of the things that you talk about, I hope you guys saw a theme. And that theme is giving back, being a part of the community in which you work, being part of the institutions that you feel are making a difference, and that you feel connected to. And therefore, when you sit back, it's really not about the time. It's about allocating parts of what your day looks like to make a difference. And I have a position that allows me to run or be part of teams that run organizations that impact people's lives. And then when I can combine that to organizations that have similar goals and are trying to do the same, to me, it's all part of that same drive to make a difference in someone's life every day. So that balance, that's my balance, fulfilling my purpose. And besides that, for those of you who know my wife, Sharon, having a very understanding wife. So thank you.
That counts for a lot.
Yeah.
For sure. You recently, I know, became well. I think we referenced become chair of the board of the Greater Baltimore Committee. Now, that for those of you, most of you, I assume, know the Greater Baltimore Committee, but it was formed in 1955 as an action committee with the intention to mobilize the commercial, industrial, professional leadership of Baltimore to bring about tangible and rapid improvements in the community. So it's only fair to get your thoughts, Calvin, now that you now hold that chair role, whether you think there's a disproportionate expectation on the private corporate sector to fill the voids and mitigate the issues that are endemic to our community here in Baltimore. I know in your leadership in BGE, during your leadership, BGE gave something like 30+ million to area nonprofits. That's an important impact.
Yeah,
So
that wasn't a year, by the way.
So, no. I know it wasn't a year. Did I say during it? No. During your tenure, during your 10 years, BGE. So what is that? What
I wouldn't say it's a disproportionate amount of angst or burden on the business community. I do believe there's a high expectation, and rightfully so, that the business community step up and help lead and help be a partner in helping solve some of our city's most pressing issues, as well as our region's issues. You can't be a business leader in this community and sit back and be satisfied with where we are. And for people to sit back and ask the question, what is the business community doing? I think is rightfully placed, and hold us accountable to step up and but here's the key, be partners in this. We can't do it as a business leader by ourselves, nor should the expectation be there. But we can partner with our city leaders. We can partner with our nonprofit leaders. We can partner with our foundation leaders and sit back and say, here are the most pressing issues that we've identified. Let's come up with some solutions and work with our politicians, both at the state, city, local level, and the regional level, and say, what can we do to drive change? I think so often that people have worked in silos and came up with the solution and said, well, if it's not my way, then it must not be, it's not right. No, we have to continue to drive results. My customers, their constituents, your neighbors, you on this phone call are all expecting leaders to step up and to lean in and be intentional about what we need to do. It's not okay for the crime in our city and our region to be where it is. It's not okay for us not to have a strong economic development bit and be going there. It's not okay for our school system to be where it is and not all kids in all zip codes have the ability to get a right education. Whether you're talking digital divide, conditions of schools, it's not okay. It's not okay for our city not to be clean. But we all have to be committed to driving that. And I think it's part of the business community's responsibility to be part of that solution. So yes.
Are you impatient? Are you impatient with the pace of change, as we've seen in previous administrations? There's momentum in pockets here and there, and we look at statistics and say, well, this is marginal improvement. This is looking better. This is looking worse. I think everybody's looking for some sort of definitive change or turning point for the city such that we get beyond this narrative that plagues us?
I think your question of whether I'm impatient could probably be answered better by my BGE and Exelon colleagues who are on the phone, Larry Laws, Tanika Davis, and others. They would tell you I'm very impatient, but I think all of us are impatient. All of us are tired of talking about the same issues that continue to plague our city and our region. So if we're not impatient, shame on us, because we have to have higher expectations than status quo. And the fact that you, as you've said, there's momentum in pockets won't deliver the results. Yeah, it's okay to have, but I tell you this, if you have a neighborhood that's making advance and the neighborhoods surrounding it are not, guess what? The city isn't advancing. And I think that's what's happening. We have parts that are thriving, but you cannot build momentum that is sustainable if you don't have the whole city moving forward. And that is what we need to focus on, Greg. It's not about my lack of patience. It's about all of us saying enough is enough and calling the question and saying, what are we going to do collectively, and really partnering with the local. And it's not about who's the leader or who's not the leader. It's about partnering together to drive results and holding ourselves accountable to do what we say we're going to do, and being accountable to each of you on this phone call to sit back and say, this is what went well, this is what went wrong, and standing up to that. So my lack of patience is a matter of all of us not coming together to really deliver on what the whole community wants. That's where the lack of patience comes in.
Baltimore is rich in the number of organizations and corporate interests that are really committed and invested. And of course, the GBC now, the Greater Baltimore Committee that you chair, again, is an organization been around now 65 years. You recently, when taking over as chair, gave a speech and sort of laid out a vision. What could you share with us some of your thoughts about organizations like GBC, although that's a very unique one? There are others, and what it is they need to do now, and what are we at a point where we have to think differently about making sure we're more than the sum of our parts?
Great question. Let me frame it for those on the call that don't really know me. I'm new to Baltimore in Baltimore terms, right? You know, I've been here since 2011, and I was only here 4 or 5 days a week working on the merger between Exelon and Constellation. Fast forward that, I moved here in 2013 to become senior VP and moved my family here at the end of that summer to permanently. My daughter is a graduate of a local high school, you know, and I've been here. And instantly, it became home for me, because if I was going to bring my family here, I was going to put roots down and invest in the city and the region. And one of the things that attracted me to our city was all the foundation, the strong bones that it has. When you look at Baltimore, I get excited about its potential. I don't just get excited about where it sits, how it sits between Philly and DC, right? I get excited about the healthcare. I get excited about the art institute, the cultural institutions. I get excited about the nonprofit, the foundational environment that's here. I get excited about how it's attracted to startups, the tech hub, the educational institutions. All of that leads me to believe that, wow, we have so much potential. We just need to step up and live up to it. So when I had the opportunity to step up and lead GBC, in my speech that you referenced, Greg, I talked about we have to bring all of our citizens forward to share in its success. We need to, as an organization, begin looking at everything we do from a matter of access and equity. No longer can we sit back as a business community and say, boy, if it's good for the business community, that's okay. It must be good for all. No, that's not the case. We need to become more inclusive in our tent and bring people in to give feedback and give opinions in terms of what is right, what is wrong, what will move the region forward. Because the business community in Baltimore and our region looks very different than it did 65 years ago. Shame on us for still thinking the old plays still work, right? But we, you know, and so you get comfortable though. You get comfortable to running the same old plays. But just like any good defense, as we sit back and prepare for the Ravens tonight, you run the same play every time. Guess what? People are going to figure out how to stop it. and it's not going to work. And to some degree, I think we've been running the same plays. So what do we have to do to mix it up and bring other people, bring other talent that hasn't been in the game yet onto the field and say, let's really look at this and get creative on how we go about doing it and solving the problems, because we haven't gotten it right yet, but we do have an opportunity. And that's what that speech was hinged on, Greg, about access, equity, partnerships, collaboration. I'm a big believer that you can't go wrong when you bring smart, talented, committed people all together and say, let's solve a common problem.
And arguably, I mean, we have no time to lose. In fact, we're losing time. We're losing generations. We're losing so many opportunities with, as you say, we haven't gotten it right. And we you know, so it's that need to see definitive change. Yeah. Excellent point. Excellent point you make. Let me turn a little bit to a topic I know you've also spoken about, and that is, you know, Black CEOs make up for about 1% of the Fortune 500 companies. How do we account, or how do you account? Get your personal perspective on this for the paucity of Black leadership in the C-suite, as CEOs, as leaders, and from your own personal experience, your path to the head of the conference table in the boardroom, what's going on there? And a city like Baltimore that's 60% plus African American, of course, there's great benefit in the diversity of ideas, and of course of ethnic diversity, racial diversity. So I want to give you a chance to speak to that.
Let me just be real. Baltimore Gas and Electric is the first gas utility in the United States. Roughly now 204, almost 5 years old. And I was the first African-American CEO to lead BGE. As talented as I may think I am, or as smart as I may think, I wasn't the sharpest person that ever come through there, but yet I was the only one given the opportunity to lead it. And that's unfortunate, because there were many before me that could have done a wonderful job and led that organization. And it was all about opportunity, and it was all about people sitting back, sponsoring and mentoring me along the way to present it and allowing me to showcase what I could do as a leader. And then to be elevated to lead, as you said, all the 6 utilities across Exelon, which is 80 to 85% of Exelon's portfolio as a $36 billion company. But having said that, going to your earlier point, is that 1% of all CEOs look like me. And the challenge with corporate America is that, like with many things, there's a comfort zone. You get comfortable with people who look like you, who get comfortable with people who hang out in the same places as you, who you socialize with. So therefore, you don't get a chance to know individuals at a personal level and build up that trust and respect. And therefore, the opportunities may not go, or do not go, that way, whether it's with minorities, women, or the like, because there's an innate trust. And it's common sense.
Right.
You trust those who you have more in common with initially, until you start breaking down barriers and challenging yourself to look and think different. So my job as an African-American CEO is to make sure that I level the playing field and provide opportunities to everyone. And in doing so, I also feel there's a significant amount of responsibility of mine to ensure that I have other Black and brown kids out there to see that they can aspire to be a CEO of a Fortune 100 company, Fortune 500 company. Because I didn't have that role model. First one in my family to graduate from college, then to go to law school. But along the way, others showed me the possibility and my potential. So therefore, I kept reaching for it. Because kids can only dream about what they can only think about achieving what they can dream of and achieve. And if they don't have bigger dreams, what do they go for, right? They go for what they know, what they see outside their front doors. Let me tell you a personal story, and I don't want to say, when I was in law school, and what really shaped this for me, when I was in law school, I was volunteering at my large law firm You know, you have those weekends where you go out to the Boys and Girls Club or Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And I was with a senior associate who was my mentor during that summer. And we're taking these group of kids to Chuck E. Cheese. And this young man, about 8 years old, says, you know, I'm riding with the senior associate, a red sports car. He says, I'm riding with them. So he jumps in the back seat of the car. Nice young man, engaging and so forth. We turn down the music. And what is the question you ask a young man when you first meet him? Hey, what's your interest, this and the other? So what do you want to do when you grow up? And the young man said, without missing a beat, I want to hang out. We looked at each other, not sure he understood the question. We asked again. What do you want? No, what do you want to do when you? He goes, I want to hang out. And it hit me, Greg, at that moment. He wanted to hang out on the corner when he got old enough to be able to do it, because that's what he saw every day in his neighborhood. And I committed from that point on. I was going to make sure that young man aspired to do something else. And he didn't even, maybe not even know what they did, what they were doing. But that's what the people he looked up to in his neighborhood did every day.
Right.
So I said, shame on me if I ever achieve any level of success that I can't be involved with those young boys, those young girls, and say, if I can do this, I know you can, but this is what you have to do. So that's why having African-American, Latino, women CEOs and leaders is so important, to inspire the next generation. Not that the other white men can't, but we do it differently because they see us in them. And that's why it's so important.
Right. Excellent, excellent points. Well, bringing it home here again. We've begun a new chapter here in the leadership of Baltimore with the inauguration of a new mayor, new city council sworn in just days ago. And as we've already said, there's no time to lose. Just wondering what you believe the priorities should be and the dialogue, because any smart politician, anybody in leadership will readily admit, I can't do this. I can't be the solution alone. It does require this critical mass of people invested in caring. What would you advise? What would your advice be to the new administration? And I won't say this is off the record because it's not really, but I won't personalize it.
But I appreciate you asking the question. Yes. What I would sit back is Mayor Scott doesn't need my counsel. He has been out there campaigning for 1.5 years for this job as former city council president, former city council. He has a strong sense of what he wants to do and what the city needs. I think the biggest piece that I would encourage is, as you've heard me say, is that it's not about one individual or even one group of individuals. It's about all of us. Please just set aside any pride and bring others up under the tent and say, let's do this together. It does not have to be my idea to be the best idea, but let's join hands and get this done. And let's have a sense of urgency about us, because we do need to have that sense of urgency. And then we need to make sure we as leaders, and the city council included, hold themselves accountable to do what they say they're going to do. And I think that's why the public is so frustrated with our political system, right? At some points, it feels as if, where's the public servant in that whole dynamic, right? Where's the public service into the component? And I think that's what we need. And I think that's what we need to be very intentional about. But he's got this. I mean, the majority of the citizens elected him, and we respect our leadership. And I've shared with him, and I'll share with you, I and others will partner with him to make sure he's successful. Because if he's not, it's not about him being unsuccessful. It's about our city not being successful. And we've said we want to be successful and keep moving forward. We need him to be successful.
And to be clear, I was really talking in general, not so much, as I said, I don't want to personalize it to him or anybody, council member, but really about as a leader, advising another leader,
But Greg, he's the leader. He's
the
leader. I sit back and say, as much as I like to say,
good.
Exelon Utilities, when something goes wrong, they don't call one of my team members, they call me. Right. And when something goes well, I get to sit up and accept and give them all the credit. And that's how leadership works. And it's okay. Right. And that's okay.
we've heard a lot, coming back to your corporate sort of role, a lot about the pandemic and how it's perhaps changed forever our way of working. And of course, that has implications for downtown Baltimore. The idea that employees all need to be in the same place at assigned desks in the same building and working roughly the same prescribed hours is been disrupted. And I think we've seen things differently. What's your view on this new way of working and interacting, and it's what will it mean for corporate America? Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So I don't know about you, but my weeks, at the end of the week, I'm more exhausted than how I used to be. And you, for those of you who know me, I traveled 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Now sitting in a Zoom or a team call, by the end of the day, I'm wiped. And it's not, you lose all sense of normalcy, that rhythm that you sit back and you have. But our lives have changed, right? I have, under Exelon Utilities, I have roughly 16,000 employees. And half of those men and women are out in the field each and every day. They've never worked remotely. But yet we were able to convert 92% of the call center employees that answer your phone calls when something goes wrong. They're all working remotely now across all of Exelon. So the reality is that we have changed how we do work. Now, we won't keep all 92% of them working remotely, but there's a great deal of them that says, you know, I kind of like this home thing. I've gotten into a rhythm and I'm not too, but yet we're committed to our city. As you guys know, BGE is headquartered right there on 110 Fayette in Charles Plaza. BGE just bought the building next door, One Center Plaza, and it's planning to bring employees downtown. We are committed to having a vibrant central core. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But how we go about doing it is going to be different. In addition to that, as a business community, we've leaned in with our coronavirus task force to sit back and say, when we talk about these issues, let's look at the equity issues that are impacting people differently. Let's look at healthcare, daycare. Let's look at to the healthcare disparities, who's being impacted worse. It's the Black and brown community. Let's look at those type of issues and not let's just say they'll be taken care of, but what are we doing as a business community to help address those? We talk about replenishing our unemployment insurance funds because the businesses that are being impacted, those small ones, most likely are women-owned and minority-owned businesses. How can we help them? Because that's who are employing people out of our neighborhoods. So these are all real issues that we have to address in real time that are going to impact how our city rebounds and how we come back. And what I commit to you all on this call is that Exelon will be part of that solution. And we're going to commit millions of dollars like we have in the past and millions going forward to bring our communities back.
Well, we're fortunate that you have that passion, that commitment, and so many good ideas. It'll take it. Of course, as you know, downtown Baltimore has suffered a great deal, and so many businesses, and it's not over. Though the vaccine is now being shipped around the country, fortunately. I want to turn now. We've got a nice turnout tonight, and so I want to offer ample time for our participants to ask questions and offer their own insights. So we're going to move to that portion now of our discussion. If you would, you can either, there's a raise your hand feature in Zoom, as you may know, or a chat, or just put your video on and raise your hand. I can see you.
And Greg, just for the record, for those of you here, Greg promised me this would be Wine with Tucker. So I brought a glass of wine and he hasn't. So that's how he got me. And I'm just like, he hasn't, but that's okay. All right.
Great. Okay. So while we're ready for our first question, feel free to raise your hand. Again, I'm doing my best to keep an eye on who's out there, or just go ahead and unmute yourself and announce yourself. Okay. I see Willie Moore. Willie, you're a faithful participant in these. Thank you. Go ahead.
Calvin, great to see you. I look forward to working with you through the GBC and your efforts in equity and inclusion. And I wonder, for the forum of folks that are here, there are short-term strategies and long-term strategies, and really because the issues facing our city are so complex and so deeply rooted. I wonder if you have any advice for some short-term strategies, some easy, low-hanging fruit concepts or ideas that business owners can do as simple first steps.
Willie, first off, thank you, and thank you for your partnership and all the many ways that you engage with not only GBC, but the city as a whole. If I understand your question, Willie, and I don't want to, I'll paraphrase, just make sure I capture it correctly. You're saying, what are some of the things that we can do as business leaders right now to impact and make a difference as we are in this pandemic and then moving forward? Is that correct?
Sorry, and not the pandemic, but as it relates to equity and inclusion issues. So just that big picture and the years of trouble in our city, I believe that there are an abundance of businesses and people, businesses big and small, and individuals who want to do something and have no idea what to do.
Yeah, so thank you, Willie. So when I look at the names of the people on this call tonight, you are all leaders. And I think we have to be very intentional about our efforts. I saw my good friend, Steve Warner, who's COO of BGE. Steve we've partnered in this journey for a while. And one of the things we say every day is that we have to be intentional about everything we do. And that means, Willie, going from when you step into a room, into a meeting, in all your phases, and you see people and you all look alike, call it out. Sit back and say, why don't we have other points of view represented in this meeting? Or you sit back and you see one or two people dominating the conversation, slow the conversation down and intentionally ask people around the room, what are you thinking? What's going on? You're here. Don't just fill a seat. Give me your opinion because it matters. So let me tell you what we're doing at GBC in the real time to be very intentional. Right now, we have a committee structure within GBC. The committee structure, for the most part, was made up of board members or people from those companies sitting and filling those committee structures. So guess what? We were getting a lot of groupthink. What we're going to say is that our committees are a great opportunity to involve segments of our population that otherwise weren't asked their opinion about policy issues, economic issues. We're going to engage them in the committee structure to get their voices heard. Then in addition to that, we're going to make sure that everyone that is involved with GBC undergoes some type of training to understand how we look at issues. And then we're going to before we adopt a policy position, Willie, as you know, we're going to view it in the under the equity lens. So we're going to talk about these issues and not shy away from them. But I would say first and foremost, be intentional. 2, don't think because you're not the leader of the meeting, you can't drive a difference of the makeup of that group and how people engage. And then I would say third, hold those boards that you're on, the groups that you're participating in, where you give your money, accountable for going broader than anything they've ever thought of. And you will see a remarkable difference in your voice, what it means to the cause. And we have to do that, Willie.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Willie. Next question for Calvin. And again, just unmute yourself. There it is. Vicki Franz.
Hey, good morning. Good evening. I haven't had my wine yet.
Vicki's had her wine and she's like blended right in. I'm jealous, Vicki. All right.
Hi, Calvin. So I wanted to get your reaction to the proposed changes for the NASDAQ. Do you know what I'm referring to?
I do. And let me make sure if we're on the same page. And for those, Vicki, it's really around diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
And ensuring that boards that are traded on NASDAQ have proper representation in women and minorities. And they will be held accountable. As a matter of fact, won't even be allowed to list on NASDAQ if they're not representative of race and gender. Am I correct in that?
That's what is being proposed.
Yeah. I support, and let me just say this. I serve on two boards, public boards, and it has been a push over the last several years that I'll be example. One major group has said that we will not vote in favor of any of your board candidates if you're not represented by women on your board, at least two, I believe it is. So this is not a new piece, but it is a very aggressive stance. And I think what's happening, and this is my view, is that investors are saying that we feel that a company is more enriched and the results are stronger when they have diversity of thought sitting around the table. And reason I say to you, Vicki, I support that is because I believe that. We have done that. And it's amazing what happens when you have people of different genders, different backgrounds, races, educational experiences, all involved in the decision-making. But diversity was only one piece. I would also go back to what we just talked about to Willie's comment. You have to be inclusive in how you use that diversity. You just can't have people looking around the room different and then never really take their opinions and their thoughts to task. And then I think also the equity piece is coming in. So it's a combination, but I think what NASDAQ is trying to do right now is a great start.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Doctor, did I see your hand?
Oh,
Dr.
yes.
Aubrey Harley, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Go ahead.
God bless you. My name is Dr. Aubrey Harley. I'm a bishop of a local church here in Baltimore called Healthy Choice Ministries. My question to you is, how can a church partner with Exelon in doing something in partnership as it relates to the city, particularly with young people? Myself, I was trying to create a mall program here, and that has everything to do with exposing young people to the Arab world, giving them a broad view of what goes on internationally as it relates to the growing participation of Arabs in our nation, and they have very little understanding of these groups of people in terms of policy and the like, to give them a broader view. And I want to know, what can we do along with that to help give our young people a more broad view, not just in the city of Baltimore, but beyond, because they don't even know they are in the national positions. They don't know they could be an ambassador or anything like that, especially in international business. Is there any way that a church can partner with Exelon to get that done?
Dr. I would say a couple of things. First off, thank you for being on here tonight, and thank you for asking the question. I would encourage you to do a couple of things. One, you can get on the website under BGE and look under BGE Corporate Giving, and it will show you the areas in which BGE supports nonprofits to partner with. And you can also do the same at the Exelon level. But because you're local, I would always, the BGE team is always ready to step up. And let me give you an example specifically to what you've asked about. One of the things that I'm a participant in, and Greg did mention this, I'm serving as vice chair of the Institute of International Education, IIE, which is better known for the granting of the Fulbright Scholars and the like. BGE has been a partner, now Exelon has been a partner of IIE for years. Going directly to your point, I think a child's mind opens up when they have an opportunity to experience education or experience different cultures outside of where they're from. International education, I've always said, is a turning point in a kid's life, because they open up their eyes and they get excited about the potential of the world. And this generation today will tell you, views the world a lot smaller than I did. I didn't get on my first airplane until college. My daughter by 8th grade had traveled to 9 different countries. So, but I saw how it opened up her view of what she wanted to do with the rest of her life. So I bought in, I saw it. So we are we believe in education, we believe in inclusivity, and we believe in partnering with organizations that do that. Now, having said that, there's many more organizations out there that this is their foundation of what they do. This is not a sweet spot for Exelon or BGE. So what I would say to you is that the program needs to be really tailored to what their website says and what they're looking to invest in and go, but you're at a head start because you're investing in young people, and that's something that we do believe in. But please understand, it's not, we usually partner with organizations that do that, and it's not a sweet spot of ours, and it will lead you down that path.
Thank you, Bishop, and thank you, Calvin. We have a question that's been submitted on the chat. I don't know if they want it anonymous or what, but they're looking for specifics, Calvin, and that is, so what are some of the concrete initiatives GBC is envisioning to ensure racial equity in Baltimore? I guess moving beyond the theoretical and the principle of it that everybody agrees with, or most people hopefully agree with, but then how do you begin to do it and achieve it?
I think a couple of things. And first off, it starts with a education and a training of all of the board members and staff to commit to, so they have a level setting of what we said we're going to do. And that's one. And working with Don Fry already, he's laying that foundation to get it done. The second most concrete thing that we've done, and mind you, I've been in this chair for a couple of weeks now. The second concrete thing we've done is that we are sitting back looking at all of our committee structure and looking to revamp that. And it's just not us doing it. We have identified outside organizations and people to sit back and help us understand and map this new horizon. One person specifically that I work with, and I'm looking forward to working with closer on this, is Diane Bell McCoy. Diane is passionate about this, and she has the knowledge and the background to help us get there. But my commitment to whoever asked this question is that when we roll out our priorities for 2021 in the month of January, you will see it built in everything that we do. And that's what I'm working with the team right now to lay out. But those are our immediate next steps.
Good. We'll stay tuned on that one. James Dorff, you've got a question. Go ahead, James.
Yes, Calvin, I admire your contributions to the city and also your charitable organizations. I know I've seen you there for a lot of events over the past couple of years. Sometimes I think there's two of you, but I haven't quite caught that yet. But anyway, I speak for the Baltimore City Chamber Board of Directors. We would like to know how we can participate in with the GBMC to help you out on a different level.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And first up, James, I think my wife just shook noticeably when you said there's two of us. So I think she panicked for a minute. So, but thank you for everything. I would sit back and say the Baltimore Chamber needs to be part of building an economic platform, foundation for us to be successful. Because if I'm correct, the Baltimore Chamber is made up of local, small and medium-sized businesses that directly impact the vibrancy of our city. Am I correct in that, James?
Yes.
So therefore, for us to be successful, we have to have the small and medium-sized businesses in partnership with the larger ones that are sitting at the GBC level. And your involvement as to how policies impact and what you need in terms of Annapolis and local, we should be able to partner with that and help drive a difference within the city council and in the state legislature to create an environment where you can be successful and your organizations can thrive. I think having that level of communication and break down any silos that may have been created from years of bureaucracy would go a long way.
Sounds great. We'd love to help.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, James. I'm going to be mindful of the time, but we still have time for a question or two.
I'm with you, Greg.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. We got that one. I keep seeing something here, and something's acting funny in my chat here, but no, I think we've covered that. Well, Calvin, what would you, before we wrap up here, anything that you would, your view, your perspective about the coming new year. It's been a horrific year. Anis Huibile, I think, is the way the Queen once referred to one of those years that she had a difficult one. But we've had a doozy. So what would you say about the year ahead, and any good prospects that you see?
Yeah, I would just, I'm an optimist by nature, and I say that
You
to say
are.
I'm excited about 2021. I really am. And why is that excitement last? Because anytime you have new leadership, you have new ideas, you have new potential and new opportunities. And shame on us if we don't say, let's wipe the slate clean and try to partner and collaborate and take it to the next level. And that's what's exciting about 2021. We know we have all the challenges. Hell, as I like to say, it's going to be difficult to get much worse. And so we sit back and we look at what we have in store for us. I get excited about it. And I'm put it this way, Greg, I'm making plans for 2021 to not only improve on what was 2020, but to run and get a running start and to really deliver, not just for my business and the partnerships and my teams, but for my community. And I think if we all approach 2021 about the potential and the opportunities and get excited about where our city and our region can go, then we will have a great year. I share with you, I've been here almost 8 years now. And it's very easy for us to talk about what we don't do or what we don't have. I would love for us to shift our conversation to all the great assets we do have and all the great things that we are doing, and we take it to the next level. So for me, the fact that all of you took your Monday night to spend time together on this Center Club Zoom says a lot about who we are as a city and what our potential is as a region. So thank you.
Well, you're a great friend, a great leader, and Baltimore and the region is very fortunate to have you and your commitment, Calvin. So all the best to you and your family for a wonderful Christmas and New Year. And thank you for making time. You spend too many hours on Zoom, I know, but thank you for doing it.
Happy holidays to all of you, and be safe, stay healthy, and be blessed. And I look forward to seeing everyone in 2021. Take care.
For sure. Thanks, everyone.
Happy holidays from the Center
Happy
Club.
holidays.
Bye-bye.
Go Ravens.
Bye-bye.